Good evening. Today is Tuesday, May 16, 2023. The time is 5 p.m. and the regular meeting of the following will come to order. The Victorville City Council and the same council also sitting as the Victorville Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, the City as Housing Assets successor, Joint Powers Financing Authority, and the Victorville Water District. Madam Clerk, will you kindly call the roll?
Councilmember Gomez.
Buenas tardes.
Councilmember Harriman.
Here.
Councilmember Irving.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra.
Here.
Mayor Jones.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. All right, so before moving on to the introduction to public comments, Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
We do not, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. Then we're going to move directly to the declaration of closed session items. Mr. DeBortnowski.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. We have one item this evening. It is existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D1. And at this point, disclosure of information regarding who the parties are could jeopardize settlement discussions. To the extent there's reportable action, we will report it at the conclusion of the closed session.
All right, thank you. So we are now in recess to closed session. We'll resume open session at 6 p.m.
Man, she was mad too.
Does she have? Well, good evening. Today is Tuesday, May 16, 2023. The time is 6 p.m. and we are resuming open session of our regular meeting, the following of which will now come to order. The Victorville City Council and the same council also sitting as the Victorville Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, the City as Housing Assets successor, Joint Powers Financing Authority, and the Victorville Water District. Madam Clerk, will you kindly call the roll?
Councilmember Gomez.
Buenas tardes.
Councilmember Harriman.
Here.
Councilmember Irving.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra.
Present.
Mayor Jones.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we're now going to move on to closed session announcements. Mr. DePortnowski.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. We had one item this evening. It involved existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D1. And the information related to that is not on the agenda since it would compromise potential settlement discussions. At this point, there's no reportable action with respect to that item.
All right, thank you very much. All right, moving on to our invocation by Pastor Daz of Victorville First Church of the Nazarene. That's going to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Captain John Wickham. So if everyone will please rise if you're able.
Thank you, Father, for this privilege of gathering and calling for your wisdom in this city of Victorville. Grant us the ability to have wisdom, to be the people who are searching for truth and peace. Your word teaches us that without leadership, a nation fails. Also, there is safety in many advisors. Help us to acknowledge, O Lord. Give us the ability to remember those who will follow our footsteps. Give this city of Victorville safety, prosperity, and growth. This I ask in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Please face the flag and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor, thank you so much. Captain, thank you very much. All right, well, now we're going to move on to an exciting part of our agenda. We have some special presentations this evening. We're going to recognize some scholarship recipients and some SA winners. So to start with, may I call upon Joaquin Yarbrough, Edward Sinacriva, Chris Nunez, Eric Ray, and Craig Garrick to come forward and join me in front of the dais. Testing, testing. All right, so if everyone can all right. First of all, let me just tell you that our Southern California Logistics Airport is a thriving industrial airport of great importance to our regional economy. SCLA tenant companies cater to the entire aircraft life cycle, including flight testing, experimental design, prototype construction, aircraft painting, asset management, maintenance, and recycling. We realize that the success of our SCLA tenant companies depends on the development of a skilled workforce. To help develop that talent, the SCLA donates space to the Victor Valley College's Aviation Maintenance Technology program. This year, we decided to go one step further and sponsor full ride scholarships for 2 students in this program through a collaboration with the Victor Valley College Foundation. I am pleased to announce that Joaquin Yarbrough and Edward Sinacriva have been selected to receive our aviation technology scholarships. Congratulations to you both on behalf of the entire Victorville City Council. We are pleased to recognize you for this outstanding achievement and to invest in your future. So I have a little something for you. Joaquin. There you go. And Edward, there you go. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Very, very proud of you. So now, Eric, would you like to say a few words? And then I'm going to ask you, Craig, to say a few words as well, if you'd like afterward.
Thank you, Mayor. Being the first time that we've done this, we really took a deep plunge, required the applicants to submit a written statement as to why they deserve the scholarship, and we asked a number of tough questions, and it was obvious by the answers that it was difficult to answer for these folks. We gave everyone an interview, and these 2 gentlemen really stepped forward. They really were shining stars within our community. Specifically, Edward is a Marine veteran who has ties to our community and his family here has decided to make this his home. He understands the importance of the SCLA to our airport. We hope that we see him on the ramp as a mechanic for many years to come. Joaquin, a young man, not the experience that Edward has, but an unbelievably full life that he's lived. He works at a local auto parts store and is just an absolute motorhead, I guess we'd call it, a motorhead from the time he was very young. And he was trained and educated to a large degree by his grandfather. Now he's continuing that formal training at the AMP school. Both of these gentlemen want to commit themselves to working here in our community, and we really appreciate that. Hope that you both do very well. In that process, Craig Garrett, founder of ComEv, helped us to find the right people. There's a guy that had some really tough questions to ask here. Haven't been in the business, so I'd like to share his thoughts as well.
Actually, thank you, Mayor. I apologize for my voice. I've been traveling and my voice hasn't caught up. I hope it will. But I want to congratulate you, and I want to congratulate you on your interviews, because we had some great candidates. But you two stood tall, and we really appreciate the response. We believe in you. We think that you're a good investment for the area and certainly for the city. And Mayor, I just want to thank the council generally and the airport for all the things that are going on to bless the lives of individuals like this, but also create high quality jobs. And I also want to acknowledge what you've done for the school in helping to get the A&P school originally set up and help it to continue to be so successful. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for supporting the businesses and these wonderful young men who are going to be very, very successful in this. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, just to be very clear, Eric Ray is our SCLA Airport Director. Craig Garrick is the CEO of ComAv, which is an incredible business on our airport. And let me just thank you, Mr. Chris Nunez. He works on the board of the Victor Valley College Foundation, and he helped administer this scholarship. So thank you so much to everyone. Congratulations and thank you.
Oh, you could be up there too. You all could be up there, right? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we got it.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Looking good. You need another one? Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, so hold on, we have a little more excitement. Each year, Victorville hosts nearly 350 fourth graders from the Victor Elementary School District for our Public Works Day. During this event, we introduce students to various city careers and show them how our public works crews maintain our city infrastructure and improve our quality of life. We ask the students to write essays about what they've learned. Tonight, I have the great honor of announcing the winners of our 2023 Public Works Day Essay Contest. To help me recognize these talented students, I'd like to invite Juan Robinson. Come on up. And from our Public Works Division, and Johnette Ellis from the school district to come forward and join me. So I'm not calling any students yet. You're just going to have to wait with bated breath. So this is one of the most fun things I do as a council member is to recognize students and to hang out with our youth. It's something I so enjoy. And if you didn't see me, I'm already cooing over that baby over there. So ladies and gentlemen, in third place is, let me pronounce the most beautiful musical name, Bella Lisa Maravilla from Mojave Vista, who wrote about the street sweeper. Come on up. Come on up, sweetheart. You're completely welcome here. We want you here. Come on. Congratulations. And we're going to do more in just a bit. And if you notice, there's a gift card there too. All right. And second place is Sophia Stalker from West Palms with an essay about graffiti removal. Come on up, Sophia. Congratulations. Come on, come stand by me. And then, drum roll, please. The first place winner of our Public Works Day Essay Contest is Johnny Bean from Endeavor School of Exploration. Johnny wrote his essay about water conservation. Come on up, Johnny. Congratulations, and he's got your certificate. Each of these students has a certificate of recognition as well as a surprise gift card. And so with that, Jeanette, would you like to say a few words on behalf of the district?
First of all, I'd like to introduce our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services, Mr. Fortune Barles. He allows everything to happen, right? So we just want to thank Juan Robinson and the team over at Public Works in Victorville. We appreciate our partnership. We've been going for like, what, 7, 8, more than 10, like, yeah, so many years, I forget. But we just want to thank you for your continued partnership, and thank you for allowing our students to come. And your team always does such an amazing job at having everything all set up for us. So we just want to thank you. And we want to thank you, Mayor, for allowing us to come and recognize our students here. Thank you.
And listen, it's really the full of the council. This is a team effort for sure, absolutely. And then we cannot leave before, we're going to take pictures in a moment because everybody gets their 15 seconds of fame, right? But Juan, the council also wishes to thank you for organizing Public Works Day. I know that you've done it for a long time now. And through your work and the work of your team, you really put on full display the hard work done daily by the city of Victorville to benefit our entire community. We appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Once we get everybody, let's see what we got. Okay, so one of the best things that we could do is yeah, that way we can, yeah, we can get you, there we go, now we can sit a little bit better. Okay, ready? 1, 2, I'm gonna take several. That best smile. Looking good. Okay, thank you.
All right, we next have a presentation, which is a Victorville Fire Call Volume Update. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Certainly appreciate this opportunity to present. We wanted to use this opportunity really as a time to update you on some of the activity in the fire department, particularly as it relates to our response data. As we've been studying our response data, of course, since we started the fire department, and we've made tremendous amount of investment in the fire department, both in terms of the addition of people, the opening of station, and the addition of apparatus. But we have an opportunity based upon the call volume that we've studied to advise on the expansion of our service. We certainly believe it's necessary to provide relief to the floor as we're running along calls. And so with that, Chief Foster's put together a brief presentation that will be in PowerPoint format, and he'll walk you through effectively where we're at today from a call volume perspective at our 5 stations throughout the city, and then perhaps give you a sense of where we're headed in this upcoming budget. So with that, Mr. Foster.
Thank you. And if I can just put you on pause for a moment. So council members, you have before you a hard copy of the presentation. I think that there's going to be a brief moment after the presentation to make any comments or ask any questions. Again, this is just meant to be a brief update. So Chief, it's all yours.
I only have 50 slides. Mr. Metzler asked me to keep it brief. Thanks for allowing me to come up and share some information about our fire department, Mayor, City Council members. When I joined the department about 6 weeks ago, I was told that we had a lot of calls. And I think around the community, there we go. I'll get it. Around the community, and I say the high desert in the county itself, Victorville is known as having many, many calls. So then I came and became the chief, and I looked at the numbers. And we have tremendous computer systems that really can dial down to how many calls we have. So the first slide represents the blue bar. These are last year's calls. We ran 23,534 calls. And you can see the comparison there. The 80% of those are medical calls, and the rest are fire or other calls. And other calls may be water coming into somebody's house and that kind of thing. But how many is 23,000? I looked around to other communities of similar size to Victorville, and you can see on this slide that I grew up in Burbank, so I wanted to see how many calls they're running. And they're at half of what we do. Marietta, I think, is similar in size, and they're at 11,000. A bigger city, Ontario, that we're all familiar with, is at 22,000, and then there we are at 23. Pasadena, the Rose Bowl people are at 20,000. So, and I also compared how many stations these other cities had compared to what we do. We have 5 fire stations. We opened the 5th last year sometime, I believe. Added an engine to it with 3 people. Burbank's got 6, Marietta's got 5, and you can see the numbers. These are the trucks that are currently staffed in the Victorville Fire Department. Squad 1 is a 2-person pickup style utility truck. It's staffed with 2 people. It runs the most, and the purpose of that truck is to take the call volume off the other units that are at Station 311. So when there's a medical call at that station, the squad will go first, and then the engine will go, and then the truck will go. You can see the second busiest truck is engine 3, and they're not far behind the squad. They're at $4,500 calls. An engine is about $700,000, and it's staffed with 3 people. So we're running the engine 4,500 calls. That's a lot of calls. If you take 2 of those numbers and it equals to, or maybe 3, it'll equal to what the other cities that I compared are running. I'm waiting patiently. There we go. So using our computer digital capability we have, we plotted every fire call in the city, and you can see where they are. Along Interstate 15, and right down in the middle of the city. And that's a lot of calls. And those are all our fire calls from last year. But then you throw in the EMS calls and it just gets crazy. So we run a lot of calls. And one of the primary focuses Mr. Metzler gave me when I was applying for the position, he wanted me to do something about the call volume and handle it and see what we can do. Because, you know, what we do is save lives and protect property. So we've got the squads. The first picture there, the squad with the utility body, is squad 311. It's, like I said, staffed with 2 people. These things are almost $250,000. And you may see in the budget coming up a recommendation for 2 additional squads and a squad that will replace this one. We've got 2 squads like this one. One of them is a reserve because it's got 200,000 miles already, and this squad's getting up close. I've made a recommendation that we consider, instead of buying 2 more squads, that we buy the second picture there, and that's an ambulance. We can staff it exactly like we do with the squads, but if we have an emergency, we have a child that needs immediately transport to the hospital, and we don't have an ambulance from AMR or the ambulance service, the firefighters will have the additional option to throw the patient in the ambulance and go to the hospital. So the ambulance and the squads are about the same price. It'll just give us another tool in our toolbox to respond. So you may see, and I say may because I haven't seen the final, we've made the request in the department's budget to the senior administrative team. But you may see 2 squads or 3 squads, 2 additional squads, and then additional personnel to staff those squads. And you may know that we're having some difficulty hiring personnel. We work closely with Mr. Metzler and Sophie in HR about hiring lateral firefighters, and there may be something in tonight's agenda about that. Our hope is that we can bring some talented firefighter personnel and paramedics from other departments into our department. We made some adjustments to the pay scale, job description. In addition, we've recommended to hire some firefighter EMTs to come in. These people would be from fire school fresh, with almost no experience, but we can assign them to the squads to drive the truck and build their experience while we're filling our needs. So anyway, not really a 50 slide. Any questions?
You weren't anywhere near the 50 slides. Before I open it up to the council, this was a very high level overview. And so I'll ask my colleagues if you have any comments and questions to keep it in that same vein. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. It gives us, just a quick glimpse into kind of where we are. The numbers are staggering for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
So with that, I'm going to open it up to Member Gomez. Any brief comments? Questions?
Yes, so we do contract with the county of San Bernardino, so bringing in a medic, how would that affect the contract that we already have? I know it's an extra tool, but I just need to think about that with the
Not
approval
sure what you mean
process.
we contract with San
With,
Bernardino.
yeah, we have a contract with San Bernardino County when it comes to the paramedic. You know how you said instead of the squad, it's the same value of purchasing that other one, like an
The
EMS,
trucks?
the smaller truck. So if we don't have emergency come in, you have something under your belt.
Yes, I think what you're saying is we have a contract with the county who has a contract with AMR
Yes,
for private ambulance.
yes.
So, and unfortunately, a private ambulance service doesn't respond as quickly as sometimes we'd like. So that won't do anything wrong. We're not legally allowed. We don't have an ambulance transport license, but we are allowed to do emergency transports. So if I have a firefighter injured at a fire and there's no AMR ambulance on scene, we are allowed to do an emergency transport. So that won't change anything.
So that was it.
Thank you. Member Harriman.
Well, first of all, like I've told you, but I'll say it again, welcome to Victorville.
Thank you.
And as a proud parent of a firefighter, it all makes sense to me. I consider myself well versed. So I think the EMT, the idea of the EMTs, and maybe in the future, training them to get their paramedic is an excellent idea. And hopefully the lateral firefighters will work out and we can get some good talent up here. Victorville Fire is going to be a premier organization, everybody. We take a lot of pride in our fire department, and people are going to want to come up here and be a fireman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Harriman. Member Irving.
Yes, thank you very much for this presentation. I agree with Mayor Jones. The numbers are staggering as it relates to the volume of calls. Do you mind restating or reiterating? You made a recommendation, and I was trying to figure out: are you recommending that we consider an ambulance rather than 2 additional squad?
My
things?
recommendation first is to add additional resources to our program. And
Yes.
currently that we're calling them squads, it's a utility pickup truck.
Right.
But in other services that I've participated in, we used an ambulance as the squad so that the firefighters had an option if they needed an emergency transport. It'll carry the same equipment that the squads carry, turnout gear, air packs, that kind of thing.
I see.
And we would operate the same as the squads. They would go to fires, they would do the EMS calls, but we have that extra capability.
I do understand. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Becerra.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Mine's kind of a two-part question, but also for Mr. Metzler. Mr. Metzler, hasn't the 911 nurse taken some of these calls down? I mean, that's not, I don't want to say ridiculous, but 16,000 in a year? I can't get my math going.
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to is the ECNS program that's actually stationed in the dispatch center, which is managed by Confire. And you know, the goal of the ECNS program is to assess and refer and try to avoid effectively the call out of an ambulance or a paramedic for very minor medical issues. However, you know, as the framework of California law exists, to the extent the caller demands an ambulance, there's effectively a requirement to roll out. So it's not having the effect immediately of reducing the number of call outs to your paramedic. And I don't think exactly can we expect it to be exactly that, to basically reduce the dependency or the number of calls for our paramedic service. I think certainly as population grows, there's going to continue to be an increased demand. And so I think what we're attempting to do is offer a supplement to exactly what ECNS is doing. Is it's helping. We're actually going to be supplementing even more with actual apparatus, because the calls are not going to go down. They're going to continue to increase despite the attempts to assess and refer.
Thank you, sir. Okay, and if budget at this point allows us to be here, why can't we start the ball rolling on this other ambulance squad type instead of waiting for July 1? Is that something we can look at, or we need to bring on the agenda for you to look at it, or what can we do to make the ball roll 3 months even quicker than waiting?
So staff is actually already working on those points. In fact, we've been specking out a squad model similar to what you see on the upper left of that slide that was depicting the two types of units. And certainly given where we envision things to be headed, because there is going to likely be a change in the type of ambulance service provided for in this county. For those that don't know, ambulance service in this county is actually governed by the county through ISEMA, which is the Inland Counties Emergency Management Authority, and they're effectively combined the body that is responsible for awarding, in the case of San Bernardino County, a contract countywide to an ambulance provider, and that ambulance service currently is provided for by AMR. There is an RFP process that is underway right now, and there is a competitive process to select a provider, whether it's AMR or another bidder. That's to be determined. But what we do know is the way the service was bid, the service is going to change. And it's going to be a model that's going to depend on locals such as Victorville to be a part of the mix, especially when there is a surge event. And a surge event is effectively when you're exceeding your peak predicted call volume, having apparatus available. And so I think the nice part of Chief's recommendation is this type of apparatus, though the apparatus that effectively looks like an ambulance, will actually allow us to adapt or adjust fairly quickly with our existing staffing model in the event that there is level 0, which means no ambulance is available. We could actually stand up ours and serve that need for at least the interim period until such a time as ambulances through the contract vendor can be provided. So we're actually doing the legwork, which was the original part of your question. So we're speccing this type of unit out. We've adapted from the previous model to this new model, and presuming that everything gets through the budget, then we'll have the spending plan actually in place to actually start making orders.
Thank you, sir. No further questions, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And so let me just piggyback on that a little bit. And I think you just answered it. So the concept of this new vehicle serving a dual role will come up in our budget workshop
That's correct.
so that the council can formally decide on that. All right, very good. Thank you, Chief. You did a wonderful job. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Take a 5-minute break to let people leave.
So I think we're going to take a quick 5-minute break in the event that any of our audience members has to get home. I know we have students in the audience. So we're going to break until, let's call it 6:38 p.m. I could have my colleagues back up behind the dais. All right, it is 6:39. We are resuming our open session, and we're going to begin now with our city clerk. Madam Clerk, will you please present the agenda and any revisions thereto?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have one revision to the agenda tonight. It's for item number 3. There's a revision to the staff report. Second paragraph in the discussion section should read, staff had met with Beam and created a plan to install 6 Beam EV ARC units at 4 city facilities. City Hall and Hook Park will have 1 unit with 6 charging ports each. These sites will include 2 dedicated ADA accessible EV charging stalls. Sunset Ridge Park and the Transportation Center will each have 2 units with 2 charging ports each. These sites will have 1 charger dedicated with an ADA acceptable parking stall. Attachment A, Exhibit A, Section I, project narrative should read, after much research, there are 4 locations throughout the city of Victorville that would be ideal for the charging stations. The locations are as follows: Victorville City Hall, Sunset Ridge Park, Hook Park, and the Transportation Center. Maps are attached. Each location will be designed as follows. Victorville City Hall and Hook Park will include 2 dedicated ADA accessible EV charging stalls. Sunset Ridge Park and the Transportation Center will have 2 units each that include 2 chargers. Each site will have 1 dedicated ADA accessible parking stall. Revised site maps for City Hall, Hook Park, Sunset Ridge Park, and the Transportation Center are available in deleted library site map.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. We're going to now, Madam Clerk. I have done that so many times. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to our conflict of interest declarations. Council members?
No.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on to the introduction to public comments. Madam Clerk, before I do that, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, well, everyone, once again, welcome to tonight's meeting of the Victorville City Council. Your City Council is interested in your ideas and opinions, and furthermore endeavors to incorporate them into its deliberations. At the same time, the Council must be able to carry out its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, this meeting will be administered in accordance with the Council's established policies and procedures and Government Code Sections 54957.9 and .95. Individuals may speak on agenda items or on issues not posted on the agenda during the public comments section, providing those are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Individual speakers may address the Council once per public comment period and once per each public hearing item for up to 3 minutes. Those who desire to comment on a public hearing item may wish to reserve their remarks until that particular public hearing item has been opened. All testimony is to be directed solely to the Council. Although open meeting laws do not permit Council members to engage in dialogue with any speaker during the public comment periods, please know your comments and questions may be taken into consideration by Council members when discussing that particular agenda item. The presiding officer may briefly respond or have staff respond to statements or questions, or may request that the staff report back to the Council at a subsequent meeting. Speakers are requested to comment as briefly as the subject permits. Individual Council members who speak as a member of the public do so without the semblance or presumption of authority derived from his or her public office and are subject to the same meeting rules of conduct and decorum as other public participants. Once comments are invited, the speaker will be called on by name, then recognized by the presiding officer. The speaker will state the item number or numbers, or that the item being addressed is a non-agendized matter. Audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting, and those who do are subject to removal from the meeting pursuant to Penal Code 403. Your understanding and cooperation are appreciated. Madam Clerk.
Our first speaker is Caitlin Quick on a non-agendized item.
Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Hello, your honorable city council and other members of the panel. My name is Caitlin Quick. I'm a business owner within the community. Thank you for hearing from me this evening. This is my first time doing something like this, so please forgive me if I make any mistakes. The things I would like to comment on are not going to be discussed in this meeting's agenda, so I will get straight to the point. The city of Victorville has contracted with Victor Valley Animal Protective League for animal sheltering services for decades. Now that VVAPL is closing its doors and restructuring their business model, that leaves Victorville without a secure place to shelter stray animals from our community. I have spoken with Animal Enforcement Officer Shannon Jensen about this issue, and she informed me of a few plans in place to help solve this issue at hand. Though she answered most of my questions, I do still have some questions, mostly for the city manager. Those questions are: what resources of funding are used to support the Animal Control Agency in Victorville, and how can we increase that funding? 2, would it be possible to introduce to the residents of Victorville a measure on which to vote to increase sales tax in the city by 0.5% to support animal shelters, sanitation, police, and fire as a protective measure to clean up our city and make it safer for all residents? 3rd, what kinds of plans do you have in place over the next 5 years to solve our issue of not having a municipal animal shelter to serve the city? And how can an individual like myself within the community get involved with this project?
Thank you very much. So at this time, we're not allowed to engage in kind of a to and fro, but your questions are valid, and I would encourage you to leave your information, if you're willing to, with the city clerk, and she'll coordinate a conversation with the city manager and his staff to have your questions answered. I can tell you that a few years ago, the voters did approve a 0.5 cent sales tax for public safety and things like that. So
okay,
we have done that part.
And thank you for your time, and I appreciate the information.
Thank you, and I appreciate your coming to speak with us, and you're always most welcome.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker would requested to remain anonymous if she'd like to come forward.
Yes.
And it's on a non-agendized item.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so why might we, Matt, ask that the wheelchair be moved out a little to the side so every council member can see you? We want to make sure that whatever is convenient for you, either to the side, that works. Can it be perfect? Thank you so much. Welcome to our meeting.
Thank you. Can we make sure that this can be heard by your internet service? The last time that I spoke, they couldn't hear anything.
Well, we have the microphone, so it should be picked up, correct? Yes.
Okay. Okay. Amen. Okay. When people we elect are empowered with authority and public trust, when they turn around and they weaponize our court and legal system and abuse the power of authority that we give and entrust in them, and they use it to steal or oppress citizens, we are open prey to them, and we become like innocent lambs before roaring lions. Instead of opening and using eminent domain and reverse condemnation, they network together and knowingly violate jurisdictional laws, misuse funds to gain more property to enrich themselves through investments, all while misusing the legal system and other departments within the county and its Department of Public Social Services, the agencies, to gain wealth for themselves, even with investments into county and governmental projects and housing infrastructure. We need help. I'm asking for any and all information on the appointment of Jonathan Gargan, Andre Day Bordanowski, and any of the property negotiators on how they intend to acquire property or have acquired property with eminent domain or reverse condemnation, especially around the 3 parcels in the deed referenced in this complaint. I had submitted these documents beforehand, and I asked for them to be posted prior to the public comments. So I hope each of you received the packet. Also, any information on the study of the same properties for minerals and other resources. All information or study of the property at Quarry and Central since 2006 and when it was to be annexed into Victorville. All studies for minerals and resources in the surrounding parcels of Johnson and Central and Quarry to Stoddard, Wales, up to the end of Black Quarry Mountain. I'm asking for all complaints that have been made naming or accusing Andre Bordanowski of committing any type of fraud, complaints of being falsely accused, committing crimes, or any potential illegal activity. All information on any involvement of Andre Bordanowski or anyone on his behalf or this council with all complaints involving the County Board of Supervisor, Brad Milzerfeld, excuse me for mispronouncing his name, Councilwoman Blanca Gomez, Robert Rodriguez, and this is on any matter. All information on the high-speed rail and how it is being funded in San Bernardino, Victorville, Apple Valley, and the area under its sphere of influence. Any meetings where issues were discussed regarding the property owned by Roscoe Sapp Sr. and or Walter Penn Sapp. We're asking this council to investigate Andre Bordanowski, who has been working in conjunction with the
Your
property
time is up.
negotiators.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Madam Clerk, our speaker referenced some information that was to have been provided. I don't have it. Has it been
We have
sent?
not received anything relative to what she's speaking about. We did have 2 public comments that were submitted in regards to item number 14, and those were disseminated to the council and posted on the website.
Thank you. Mr. DeBortnowski, do you wish to make any comments?
This matter has been brought up once before. Again, I have absolutely no involvement in the transaction that Ms. Rogers is speaking of. I don't believe, since I've ever been working here, the city's ever been involved in either eminent domain or inverse condemnation. So these comments just make no sense to me at all. I have no involvement in this transaction.
I do have the
Thank you.
documents here I can provide
Madam,
to
your
you.
speaking time is up. Thank you. All right, Madam. Thank you, ma'am, very much for speaking. Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Our next speaker is Karima Abdul Kabir on item number 14.
Good evening, Ms. Abdul Kabir. It's good to see you again.
Yes, good evening, Council. My name is Karima Abdul Kabir, and I'm here to talk about the Interagency Council on Homelessness. Yes, we need to stay involved and we need to stay at the table. Homelessness is not just in one city, it's a nationwide problem. So the more coordination, the better, even though the county may have disappointed us at times with their loss of funds over $4 million. Despite that fact, we still need to stay at the table. We still need to stay involved. It is a huge problem. It will take lots of agencies to address the issue. So I think Victorville, we need to find someone maybe from the homeless task force or someone else to be on that council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Mary Ann State on a non-agendized item.
Good evening, Ms. State. Welcome.
My name is Mary Ann State, and I have moved to Victorville, and I bought my home for 5 years ago. I bought my home. I understand that we have approximately 140 sheriffs, or 143, give or take, and there is rapid crime on my street. I want to petition council to get 560 more sheriffs so that they can have these different task force that the city desperately needs to thrive, so that it can be a safe place to live, play, and work. So I am trying to hang in there. I've been here for 5 years, and I've also been to the council meetings for about a couple years. You all are doing a good job, but it takes to have all hands on deck, and we definitely need more law enforcement. We have the least amount of law enforcement. We have the least amount of law enforcement that I know of. And the county of San Bernardino is the largest county in the United States, but I'm talking about Victorville, California, that they need to bring 560 on. That'll give or take, make it 703 sheriffs. And I think that we will have a much safer city, and they can have the different task force that the different representatives here that live in the city of Victorville are speaking of, so that they can lay down and sleep at night, and that our kids can be safe at school, and that we can be safe whenever we go to and fro, because that's not happening right now. And I've been dealing with it for the last 5 years, every night on my street. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. State. We appreciate it. Madam Clerk.
There are no additional speakers at this time.
All right, with that said, the chair is going to close the public comment period and bring this item back to the council. We're going to move on to our first business in order, which is public hearings. That's item number 1. This is the urgency ordinance number 2438 and ordinance number 2437, amending chapter 2.22 of the Victorville Municipal Code for the purpose of reducing the probationary period from 12 to 6 months with respect to lateral hires of firefighter paramedics. Mr. Metzler, will you introduce the item, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This item is introduced, really intended to help us in our recruitment efforts at the firefighter paramedic rank. As you know, the firefighter paramedic rank in our fire department is our entry level position into the sworn firefighting service. And nationwide, not just in fire, but all public safety and even medical services, you know, there has been a dramatic strain on the system in having sufficient amount of firefighter paramedics hired. In fact, just with the hiring challenges that we're experiencing nationwide for all positions, it's becoming increasingly critical at the public safety levels. We have experienced here in Victorville some challenges filling all of our spots at the firefighter paramedic rank. And as we envision wanting to expand our services in the upcoming fiscal budget, we're believing it necessary to have as many tools as possible to try to attract the varying degree of candidates. And in this particular case, one of the things that we've learned is there is a desire that exists to work with Victorville Fire. However, in some cases, and some of that desire has to do with our pay, but it also has to do with our activity. But at the same time, equally experienced individuals that perhaps are working for other departments find it as an obstacle and a risk coming to Victorville Fire when the probationary period is what it is, which is currently 12 months. So this is going to be an opportunity for us to test to see if we can attract experienced firefighter paramedics from other agencies that have already passed their probationary periods. And so with that, there's 2 ordinances presented for your consideration. We've already gone through the noticing process. But effectively, you have an urgency ordinance that provides for identically what's in the regular ordinance, but the urgency ordinance would, if approved by this council by a 4/5 vote, take effect immediately and would allow us, in fact, tomorrow to begin the recruitment of the lateral firefighter paramedic position, hoping that we can recruit, then we can bring them on and even provide an abbreviated tower training program. So with that, this would is believed to be helpful in our efforts in trying to fill some of those critical positions. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. All right, with that said, Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask you to read the recommendation.
That your honorable city council open, conduct, and close a public hearing to receive citizen comments regarding urgency ordinance number 2438 and the municipal code amendments included therein. Make the environmental exemption finding relative to urgency ordinance number 2438. Make the finding of urgency. Waive full reading and adopt urgency ordinance number 2438. And open, conduct, and close a public hearing to receive citizen comments regarding ordinance number 2437 and the municipal code amendments included therein. Make the environmental exemption finding relative to ordinance number 2437. Introduce ordinance number 2437 for adoption and first reading by title only, and waive further reading in full of proposed ordinance number 2437.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. We're now going to move on to technical questions for clarification, specifically as it relates to the staff report. We're going to begin with Member Gomez. Thank you. Member Harriman.
So we're looking lowering the 12-month probation to 6 months so we can grab some of these experienced firefighters to come to Victorville.
That is the goal in this particular item, speaking specifically to the FFPM rank, no other rank.
I have no more.
Thank you. Member Irving.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I want to say as a council person, I definitely want to support staff as we employ different strategies to try and fill the critical positions that are in the fire department. I only have one question. What are some of the other agencies that have reduced the probationary period for the lateral entry?
I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're actually seeing this as becoming a continuing trend nationwide, and in fact, the chief is aware of this. Actually, having participated in this back in Georgia, but we've also seen this being considered locally. I know allied agencies here in the High Desert are considering it. We do know that active recruitments are taking place right now in Southern California cities. Just pulled up a few: Arcadia, Hemet, Vista, Manhattan Beach, Montclair. All of those communities have active lateral firefighter paramedic recruitments going on right now. So we're all experiencing the same challenge, and so this is one of those tools that we're hoping is helpful to bring in experienced employees.
Okay, all right then. That answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Irving. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Mentzler, even when a firefighter does transfer from another active department, do they still go through training here in Victorville?
In this particular case, if they qualify as a lateral, meaning they've got experience at that equal rank, have already gone through a training and academy at that respective department, there will be a very abbreviated training that they'll still have to go through here locally. And just to give simple comparison, our typical Tower Academy, which is our training academy for new recruits, it's about a 6-week academy, maybe a little bit longer. In this particular case, it's envisioned that probably about a 2-week abbreviated academy. And really that's just to train on the local nuances that a new recruit might find in Victorville that may be somewhat different, say, for example, that's being done in the community that they're coming from.
Okay. Why they're on this training? Are they paid?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you to you and the staff on this. Thank you. No further questions, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I just have a question. If the council were to pass these ordinances, when would they become effective?
If the urgency ordinance is adopted by a 4/5 vote, my understanding that becomes effective tomorrow. And if the urgency ordinance does not pass by a 4/5 vote, but the regular ordinance passes by a majority vote, then it'd be about a 45-day effectiveness on the backup ordinance.
Very good. All right, and I have no further questions. So now we're going to move on to the public hearing. I'm going to open the public hearing to take public testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. The chair closes the public hearing, and we're going to ask you, Madam Clerk, to please read the title of each ordinance. That's 2438 and 2437.
Ordinance 2438, an urgency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Victorville, California, amending Chapter 2.22 of the Victorville Municipal Code for the purpose of reducing the probationary period from 12 to 6 months with respect to lateral hires of firefighter paramedics and declaring the urgency thereof. Ordinance number 2437, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Victorville, California, amending Chapter 2.22 of the Victorville Municipal Code for the purpose of reducing the probationary period from 12 to 6 months with respect to lateral hires of firefighter paramedics.
Very good. All right, the chair invites a motion from the council as to points 2 through 4 and 6 through 8, with points 1 and 5 having already been disposed.
So moved. Follow staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. And that's related to 2 through 4 and 6 through 8, council members? Yes. All right, so now we're going to take discussion on the pending motion, beginning with Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Irving?
No discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Gomez?
No, none.
Thank you. And Member Harriman?
No.
Thank you. And the chair has no discussion on the pending motion and closes the discussion period. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Councilmember Gomez, Councilmember Harriman,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Thank you. So the council has adopted staff's recommendation as it relates to points 2 through 4 and 6 through 8 as posted on the agenda. We're now going to move on to our consent calendar. This is items 2 through 9. And at this time, a motion is in order for the council and the council acting on its various boards of directors to approve action on the consent calendar items 2 through 9 in accordance with the recommendations presented on the agenda.
So moved.
We have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Councilmember Gomez,
Yes.
Councilmember Harriman,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the council and the council acting in its various capacities has adopted staff's recommendation for consent calendar items 2 through 9. Moving on to our next business in order, which is written communications, beginning with item number 10. This is consideration of resolution numbers VWD 23-006 and VWD 23-007, resolutions of the Board of Directors of the Victorville Water District initiating proceedings to fix, levy, and collect standby charges for Water Improvement District Number 1 and for the Improvement District Number 2 for fiscal year 2023 and 2024. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. In this particular item, you're considering this item as the Water District Board of Directors, and it's involving property-based assessments that, in the case of the two districts that we effectively have absorbed as the city, WID 1, which is the former Victor Valley Water District boundaries, and then WID 2, the former Baldy Mesa Water District boundaries. Each of those districts had property-based assessments assessed against properties in those geographic boundaries. And in fact, since 1975, it's been in place in WID 1, and since 1969, it's been in place in WID 2. And effectively, this particular item is something that we do annually, so we've seen this before, and it's a requirement that it be acted upon annually to effectively reaffirm the assessment to be placed on the property tax rolls of the properties within those geographic boundaries. In the case of WID 1, this is dealing with a $10 per acre for all properties within 660 feet of a public water system. So it's effectively a benefit assessment to those properties that fit within that distance. And then secondly, because WID 2 historically had, or in the past had issued bonds to help finance infrastructure, WID 2 actually has a per acre assessment for all parcels, regardless of distance to a public system, of $15 per acre. And so with that, this is the first step of two steps in the process before we effectively notify the county of the assessments having been affirmed. And once it's done, then they will effectively make sure that all of the assessments are applied to the taxes. I think finally said, this is a revenue source for the water district. It's actually relied upon as a part of the overall rate plan. And so effectively an action to not approve this would impact your ability to achieve that revenue that is identified in your rate plan, which could have the effect of certain customers subsidizing for costs of improvements that they wouldn't otherwise have to pay. So with that, the author on this item is your Director of Public Works and Water, Mr. Doug Matthews. He's available for any questions or comments you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Madam Clerk, the recommendation, please.
That the Honorable Victorville Water District Board of Directors approve resolution number BWD 23-006, authorizing the Victorville Water District to initiate proceedings to fix, levy, and collect standby charges for Improvement District 1 for fiscal year 2023-2024. Approve resolution VWD 23-007, authorizing the Victorville Water District to initiate proceedings to fix, levy, and collect standby charges for Improvement District 2 for fiscal year 2023-2024, and set June 6, 2023 as the date for the public hearing for the purpose of hearing arguments for and against determinations to fix, levy, and collect water standby charges as set forth in the aforementioned resolutions.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Moving on to technical questions for clarification as it relates to the staff report specifically, and we're going to begin again with Member Gomez.
Yes, it's not common to see the recommendation setting up a June 6, 2023. So my question is as follows. So it says, as a date for the public hearing for the purposes of hearing arguments for and against the termination of fix, levy, and collect water standby charges as set forth in the aforementioned resolutions. This is not common once again. This is my first time engaging in something like this. Is this a new process?
It is not a new process. In fact, you have participated in this at previous meetings. We do this right around this time every year. So you would have participated in every year prior to this, at least for the period of time that you've served on this council.
So let me clarify what I'm meaning, because it's obviously not clear. When I see a recommendation for levies, I've never seen one that's addressed within the recommendation to set forth immediately. We usually have a Thursday where we have the agenda come out, but not within the agenda like I see it tonight, where it says set up June 6, 2023. And that's something new that I've seen. I've not seen this for the time that I've sat here. So I was asking if this process of embedding it immediately is a new process, because that I have not seen in this course of what we're doing for WID 1 or WID 2.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. This is not a new process. In fact, the process that's being followed here is effectively the same process that's prescribed by Proposition 218, which was adopted either in 1996 or 1998. So it's a process we've been following annually for quite some time.
Okay, so according to the Attorney General, I can make a public records request. If you can give me one other item that has this same process following, I would greatly appreciate that, because I'm still not convinced that I've ever seen this within the format that we have seen it. Thank you.
And so for clarification, Mr. DeBortnowski, public records requests go through the normal process and not from behind the dais.
Correct. You would submit one to the city directly.
Thank you. Okay, Member Gomez, did you have any other questions? Thank you. All right, Member Harriman.
I have none.
Thank you, Member Irving.
Questions?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. And one question. I know, Mr. Metzler, that you mentioned that this is a revenue source, as it were, but it is subject to Prop 218. So this isn't a money-making venture by any means, and it can actually help some of our consumers as well by doing this annually.
I would agree with that.
Okay. And then, so I mean, this is my 5th year of taking up this particular issue behind the council, and my recollection is that I've always seen it done this way, that we always notice in advance behind the dais that we're going to set a public hearing. Has it always been that way? I mean, that's my recollection, but
my recollection is the same. And in fact, looking at the staff report, I can tell there's a lot of copy and paste from last year's staff report.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all I have. And at this point, I'm going to ask for a motion from the Victorville Water District Board of Directors.
Motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, and that's to adopt from both of you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Discussion on the pending motion. Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Harriman.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Gomez. Thank you, and Member Irving.
No discussion.
Thank you, and the chair has no discussion and closes the discussion period. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
No.
Councilmember Harriman,
Yes.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Thank you. So the Victorville Water District Board of Directors has adopted staff's recommendation as put forth on the agenda. Moving on now to item number 11. This is the fiscal year 2020 Police Department Homeland Security Grant Program Award and Purchase. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. This item is dealing with the acceptance of a Homeland Security grant in the order of about $30,500. And with the acceptance, we're dealing with the appropriations. The fiscal impact is creating the appropriations for the revenue and the expense of that money, but it's also seeking an appropriation from the SLESF fund, which is a fund we've used to fund our ALPRs. And with the product of the two monies, this item is actually authorizing an expenditure to basically outfit two additional units, vehicles, with actual ALPRs built into the vehicles, allowing us to go mobile with our ALPR program. So with that, this item is authored by myself and Police Captain Mr. John Wickham. We're both available for any questions or comments you might have.
All right, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, the recommendation, please.
That the Honorable City Council accept the grant award of the fiscal year 2020 Homeland Security Grant Program in the amount of $30,510. Adopt resolution number 23-033, amending the fiscal year 2022-23 budget for revenue expenditures for said grant. Authorize the expenditure of supplemental law enforcement service fund monies in the amount not to exceed $8,321.63 for the purchase of mobile automated license plate readers, and approve the purchase of mobile automatic license plate reader cameras in the amount of $38,831.63 from Vigilant Solutions LLC.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, moving on to questions for clarification as it relates to the staff report. Member Harriman.
I have none.
Thank you. Member Irving.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of questions. So I know that we completed phases 1 through 6 with regard to purchasing cameras, and they're out on the street basically. It's 123, right? And I understand that this grant is going to pay for 2 additional cameras. They're mobile cameras. It's just going to be, I guess, I don't know if you're at liberty to tell me, but randomly put on vehicles. Or is there a process that you've decided what vehicles they're going to go on, be mounted on?
I don't know exactly which vehicles they're going to go on. Captain Wickham probably could better speak to the actual selection.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. For clarification, there'll be cameras that are affixed to our patrol units.
Right, but only two vehicles, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I can see how the mobile cameras are going to enhance the program. Do you envision that we're going to mount additional cameras in the future? I guess because, to other vehicles. I know this is being paid for with a grant, but
Correct, and it does enhance our investigative abilities.
absolutely.
And it supports the fixed point cameras that we have throughout the city, phase
Right.
1 through 6.
Right. Okay, so do you envision that we'll mount additional cameras in the future?
I could see that happening, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Irving.
That's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
No, ma'am, no questions. Thank you.
Yes, Member Gomez.
Last time I remember that the last phase was as of last time, but is this something new for the mobile that we've incorporated? There was a decision between last time where we said it would be the final.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. We are at a point right now where we're comfortable with the number of cameras that we've mounted through the signal system throughout the city, which is a number of 123 cameras. At this point, we're actually interested more so in being able to use ALPR technology to really try to get down into a more granular level, say being able to make detections in shopping center parking lots, for example, or to the extent we're on a search perhaps even driving through a neighborhood where we believe a suspect may have fled through, as an example. So this just gives us a better response capability, at an incident level, if you will.
So then, they are going to be so far two that we know of, then this has already been approved by the county, I suppose?
The county doesn't have a role in approving that. We actually have one outfitted already that was effectively being used for pilot purposes, and we're pleased with how it operates. So effectively, this would be an expansion of that.
Okay, so one of these mobile costs $15,000?
About that
Okay,
per unit.
yeah, so far it's gonna be two, so 30,000 plus 8,000 for the person that's gonna do the LLC.
I'm sorry, it's closer to 39,000. So approximately 19,500 per unit.
That's excluding the maintenance and operation?
Correct. These are just hard costs.
Okay. And for these cameras, there has to be suspicion or probable cause, or how do you deal with something like that when you're doing an investigation for crimes?
Captain, do you want to address that?
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council, the cameras capture vehicles that potentially have been entered into the system as wanted or wanted for, let's say, a robbery, a murder, something of that nature. And if the cameras detect a license plate that is wanted in the wanted system, that has been placed in there, typically by investigative measures and search warrants and such, then it'll be entered in the system, and then there's a hit on the camera.
Okay, so search warrant as in fugitive, as in, I think you used another term. So if there's an active search warrant, if there's a hit because there's a fugitive, or some kind of hit. I'm just trying to understand the capability of what we're going to be dealing with.
It could be a stolen car, a vehicle that was used in a robbery, a murder. It could be a terrorist, something vehicle that was related to, maybe a wanted suspect utilizing that vehicle.
So if I have a search warrant and you hit my car, that would be a way to use it, right? I'm just trying to get to the nitty gritty.
If the vehicle was used in a crime and identified and entered into the system.
Okay, so if I have an active search warrant today and you get behind me, that wouldn't do anything?
It just depends.
It depends. All right, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez. All right, so I actually would like to piggyback on that a little bit. So my understanding with the ALPR cameras that we have throughout the city, it only pings when there's something that has been input into the system as part of an investigative process, correct?
That is correct.
Same thing applies here.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, with that said, then I'm going to go ahead and invite a motion from the council.
Motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. That's to adopt.
Motion to adopt staff's
Thank
recommendation.
you very much. All right, we have a first and a second. We're going to move into discussion on the pending motion. Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Harriman.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Irving.
No discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
I think I'm not sure if this is related with the county, but I read something with the county. Hopefully it's in line with what we were reading with the county of San Bernardino. That's my only comment for this section.
Okay, thank you. And the chair has no comments on the pending motion and closes the discussion period. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Councilmember Gomez?
No.
Councilmember Harriman?
Yes.
Councilmember Irving?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Motion passes with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Thank you. All right, so the council has taken action in accordance with the recommendations set forth on the agenda. Moving on now to item number 12. This is the citywide recycled water conceptual study. This is the consultant professional services provider agreement. Mr. Metzler, will you tee it up, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. We as staff are very much interested in exploring the use ultimately of reclaimed water throughout the city. certainly at a greater scale than what we currently actually use reclaimed water for. As you probably are well aware, we are in the reclaimed water business largely out at the Southern California Logistics Airport, where we recycle water from our industrial wastewater treatment plant and effectively sell that water either to the High Desert Power Plant for its cooling purposes, or we do have some use for irrigation. We do irrigate Schmidt Park, and there are some other small areas throughout the airport that actually use reclaimed water for irrigation purposes. But as there continues to be a strain on the water altogether, we are very much interested in trying to expand our capabilities. We have talked with this council previously about actually constructing a second reclaimed water storage tank out at the airport. Efforts are underway in that regard that would ultimately give us 2 million gallons of storage capacity. But we'd like to take reclaimed water citywide. And so this item actually brings on some professional help to take this precursor step before actually drafting up a master plan for reclaimed water services and actually drawing up a conceptual plan to look at the available sources, try to identify some general logic as to where perhaps those sources can be stored and then ultimately distributed in an efficient way. So with that, the author on this item is your city engineer, Mr. Brian Gangler. He's in the audience to answer any technical questions or comments you might have.
All right, thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, the recommendation, please.
That the Honorable Victorville Water District Board approve the consultant professional services provider agreement with Water Systems Consulting, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $198,570 for developing a citywide recycling water conceptual study that maximizes the value and benefit of recycled water to the district's water resources.
Thank you. All right, moving on to technical questions for clarification as it relates to the staff report, and with a particular focus that this is about approving a consultant provider agreement. So we're going to begin this time with Member Irving.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
No question.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Member Harriman.
No question.
Thank you. And I have one question. Mr. Metzler, is this going to, if this is approved, is the consultant going to look at the present work being done by VVWRA and MWA?
I have asked that specifically they involve both agencies to consider what they're doing and to make sure that if there's any opportunity to make a connection between our systems, that we consider that.
Very good. All right, that's all I have. And with that said, the chair invites a motion from the Victorville Water District Board of Directors.
Move to approve staff's recommendations.
Thank you. To adopt. Is there a second? Thank you. All right, we have a first and a second. Moving on.
Who was the second, please? I heard two people.
I'm sorry, Member Harriman.
Okay.
Thank you. Discussion on the pending motion. Member Irving.
Discussion.
Thank you, Member Harriman.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Not at the moment.
Thank you, and Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Thank you, and the chair has none and closes the discussion period. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Councilmember Gomez?
Yes.
Councilmember Harriman?
Yes.
Councilmember Irving?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the Victorville Water District Board of Directors has taken action in accordance with the staff recommendation as presented on the agenda. Moving on to item number 13. This is Department of Transportation Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Discretionary Grant Program. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This item is simply to authorize the application for grant monies that are administered through the Department of Transportation Charging and Fueling Infrastructure. And so with that, what we're applying for are modular, mobile, I should say, solar EV charging stations with batteries. And it's envisioned that this would be effectively a pilot effort to try to expand into the EV charging space and availing electric vehicle charging at our public locations. Of mind right now, as a part of the application, we envision perhaps if we're successful, getting these EV charging stations, placing perhaps one at the transit center, one at the library, or perhaps even at Sunset Ridge. Each unit can actually charge up to 3 vehicles is what we're anticipating. So with that, that's the general scope of work that we're actually including in the application. And so with that, Joe Sleggers is your building official. He's the author on this item. He's also the author to the revision that's on your dais as well.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, the recommendation, please.
That the City Council adopt resolution number 23-035, approving the grant application for the Department of Transportation Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Discretionary Grant Program and authorizing the city manager or his designee to process all documents required for program administration associated with the grant.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to technical questions for clarification. We're going to begin with Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Mr. Metzler, I'm sure I read it. I just can't find where I read it. Are these going to be no cost charging stations because they're solar, or no, there's still going to be a cost to get some of our money back?
The current vision is that they be no charge public power EV power stations.
Thank you, sir. That's it. No further questions, Madam Mayor.
Yep, thank you. All right, Member Gomez.
Simply for the record to reflect that revision to item agenda number 3 is really item number 13. That way the record is clear for the revision. Nothing further.
I appreciate that, Member Gomez. All right, and Member Harriman.
My question was already asked, so no question.
Thank you, Member Irving.
No questions.
I do have one question. I've asked this before, and it's only because I'm just learning about all of this. So it's solar. It's going to run off solar. So what happens if that runs out and someone's looking to use it, but there's not enough?
Well, certainly the EV charging during the daytime is anticipated to fuel usage during the daytime, and the system has batteries built into it, so effectively any net the consumption actually gets stored in the batteries, and the batteries can be available at night. However, the batteries will run down, and to the extent the batteries run down, then that system no longer can provide power.
Okay, great. That's all I have. All right, and with that said, I'm going to go ahead and invite a motion from the council to adopt staff's recommendation.
I move to approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Moving on to discussion on the pending motion. Member Harriman.
Is this the same manufacturer that did the benches at the parks?
Okay, so we've done questions. We're now on comments, but that's that's a good question, Mr. Metzler.
I don't know. The answer is no.
Thank you.
All right, Member Irving.
I'm sorry, I do have a question. This is just to apply for a grant, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. No, nothing.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
None.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
None at the moment.
Thank you, and the chair has none. Closes the discussion period. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Councilmember Gomez?
No.
Councilmember Harriman?
Yes.
Councilmember Irving? Mayor Pro Tem Becerra?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Aye.
Motion passes with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Thank you. All right, we're now going to move on to, and again, the council has taken action in accordance with the recommendations set forth on the agenda. Now moving on to item number 14. This is resignation from Interagency Council on Homelessness. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. As you know, we've been charged as staff since 2018 to involve ourselves as an organization in this space of attending to the homelessness. And we've done so without experience when we first started in the space of homelessness. We actually came out of the gate in 2018 and then in early 2019 forming a homelessness solution task force where we really focused on bringing together the local nonprofits, especially that actually work in this space. And we've learned a tremendous amount from that group. It's an organization, it's a committee that still exists today and still runs today and is led by your city staff. We've also participated as a board member to the Interagency Council on Homelessness, which is the governing board effectively for the county overseeing the continuum of care. And we had actually participated in that, also having learned a great deal amount in this public space of homelessness solutions. And as you know, we at the city level have taken a leadership role in both parallel paths, serving ICH along with its subcommittee, which is the Desert Regional Subcommittee. And that was actually an evolution of ICH having changed its bylaws over the course of time to effectively decentralize a lot of its decision making to a regional level. And so over time, we've involved ourselves as staff, taken a leadership role of the Homelessness Solutions Task Force, a leadership role in the Desert Regional Subcommittee, and then, of course, also at the board level at ICH. And over that same period of time, we've been very fortunate as a part of our public outreach in actually reaching out to the community and getting the public support for Measure P. Measure P was identified as a funding source that would help us move forward our homelessness solutions efforts. And we've been able to lever those funds to build up a very small but mighty homelessness solutions staff that now is very heavily focused on one of your biggest priorities that came out of the strategic action plan adopted by the Homelessness Solutions Task Force, and that is to build the wellness and recuperative care facility that is now under construction and hoping to be open and operational early this summer. And so as we're progressing forward in that endeavor to make meaningful progress in actually increasing our number of beds, our number of rooftops, if you will, and connecting our homeless population with medical and case management services, we are getting very focused on Victorville and providing the solutions and the needs for our community. And we're trying to do it in an efficient way, especially with the limited amount of staff that we have. So just over the course of time, we've been obviously trying to identify what's consuming our time and what's going to consume our time even more, especially as we expand our role into the Wellness and Recuperative Care Center. So with that evaluation of time, we've really concerned ourselves as to how much time it's taken to continue to serve in those multiple leadership roles that have parallel paths with what we've been taking on with the Homelessness Solutions Task Force. And quite honestly, we've gotten to the point where our involvement has become a major strain, I should say, on our staff time participating with those two with those two bodies. And therefore, just out of the need to better manage our time and redirect staff time to focus on Victorville priorities, this recommendation has come forward to really disconnect ourselves from ICH in a leadership capacity and also to disconnect ourselves from the Desert Regional Steering Committee in a leadership capacity. We still intend to attend the meetings. We still intend on communicating our voice, and we very much intend on applying for funds as they may come available in the future through either Desert Regional Steering on behalf of ICH or ICH directly. But at this point in time, we've been experienced enough, having worked very closely with the ICH and its subcommittee, to believe that this is the best course of action for us to keep our focus on Victorville. And effectively, it'd be our plea at this time with the resignation in these particular roles that other members of the public step up and try to help shape some of what we're trying to shape here for Victorville for the region. So with that, both myself And Ms. Smith, Deputy City Manager, are the authors on this item. We're certainly available for any questions or comments you might have.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Metzler. We're going to, well, Madam Clerk, let me ask you for the recommendation first.
That your honorable city council approve a letter of resignation for the city of Victorville as a member of the Interagency Council on Homelessness and for its role as chair and secretary of the Desert Regional Steering Committee.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to questions for clarification, beginning with Member Gomez.
How many hours are required to attend the ICH meeting? Required? 1:30 to 3, I believe, monthly. Is that the case? Or 1 to 3? I'm asking what the requirement is to attend the intra-agency on homelessness.
The requirement is to attend their meetings, and we do attend their meetings. As far as the time, there's no specific requirement on time, as the time has more to do with the actual agenda before the board at that time. And just like a council meeting here, some agendas are long and some are short. Some are dealing with controversial items that may take longer than those items that have not. So there's no, I guess what I'm getting at is, despite the public meetings, there's no requirement of time, because effectively we've got to sit through the meetings, participate, and get through the meetings, no matter how long it takes. But to just focus on attending or attendance of the meeting is not the whole calculation of time, because the agenda, just like you're expected here at the council level to review your agenda, become informed and ask questions and so forth, there's a lot of preparation time that even goes along with staff to attend just the ICH board meetings.
So ICH is once a month between 1 and 3 is what I was asking, but I guess I had to supply the response myself.
I don't believe that's accurate, because
Is it 1:30 to 3?
it's not 1:30 to 3.
What is it?
I don't know exactly, but the times that I've gone, it's been in the morning.
Okay, because I was looking at something with ICH earlier, and I saw something for June 12th, and I saw certain times, and I thought, oh, maybe that's where you guys are attending. I wasn't sure, so I'm asking for clarification to kind of understand with the meeting times and things of that nature, because it has an introductory time and a subset time. Typically, they start and end at those times. City council meetings typically don't have an ending time unless it's 10 o'clock at night. So just trying to wrap my head around how much of the duties that require driving, of course, because it's not up here, things of that nature. Just trying to wrap my head around how much time is being encapsulated on something that may not be a priority to the city of Victorville, despite, we're doing this regardless. The attendance is still going to be there, you say, the participation is still going to be there. Just trying to understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure where you're coming from in terms of what meeting you're speaking of, because the ICH meeting, the next one I'm aware of, is the 24th of this month, and the regularly scheduled time period for those meetings are from 9 to 11. They actually host those meetings down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not, you may be mistaken this for some other.
Yeah, that's the steering committee. So I was looking either at one or the other. And then I looked at the continuum, the San Bernardino continuum, and I was noticing that for several years, the city of Victorville has been the second city with the most homelessness. And I thought, should we really be there? Should we not continue to be there? I saw some of the numbers. We didn't do anything in 2021. We didn't, we're going to do this in 2023. We did it in 2022. 2020, and I see a pattern of the city of Victorville being the number 2 in terms of its homelessness, very high behind San Bernardino. So I was wondering if there's maybe something else that we can address.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
So if I might, Madam Mayor, just to speak to a couple of points. So there is a monthly sub-regional meeting. That's the Desert Regional Steering Committee. And perhaps that's one of the meetings that the council member was speaking to. Those are hosted monthly from the time from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. But I think the more important element is speaking to Desert Regional Steering Committee for 2 seconds. That's an example of where we as staff, because of our generosity in offering time and serving and providing leadership, We actually effectively, though we're co-chair of those meetings, we're effectively serving as the secretary of the board. We're actually serving as staff to that steering committee. We've even been asked to help develop an agenda that quite honestly, in some cases, feels like it's actually moving astray from what its core mission is based upon the ICH bylaws. But that notwithstanding, there's a tremendous amount of time that our staff actually places, and that's probably where it impacts us the most, not so much the ICH board, but certainly the steering committee, the regional steering committee, to where we are spending a lot of time preparing for meetings, running meetings. It's just a lot of time.
Okay. Member Harriman.
So this will free up time we can focus more on our specific homelessness solutions here in Victorville.
That is correct. And by no stretch of the imagination are we giving up on homeless. In fact, we are very much committed. And you'll see here in the next month or so, especially as we bring back some items that I'm aware require your attention, specifically as it relates to the ultimate operations of the wellness and recuperative care facility. I do believe, I'm a little biased, I do believe you're going to be fairly impressed with what we bring back and what we're going to have inside those four walls that we've been so focused on building for a little over a year now. Yeah, it's time for us to, especially given the limited human resources we have, buckle down and focus on what it's going to take to properly run our operations.
I have nothing further.
All right, thank you. Member Irving.
Yes. I don't really have questions per se, but I do want to say that I appreciate the city manager's position on having limited resources as it relates to time and preparation and the burden that it puts on staff to prepare to assume a leadership role in such a council or advisory board. I do, and I want to say to Councilwoman Gomez that I'm glad she pointed out that we have the second highest homeless population. I think that we should focus on implementing our strategies to deal with homelessness here in the city of Victorville. So I support this.
Thank you, Member Irving. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Mr. Metzler, of all the cities that are part of this group, how many of them are building a wellness center like ours?
I'm not versed on everybody. I do know in Redlands, they're actually building a facility that I would say is close in that they're doing a hotel motel conversion. They're the only ones that I'm familiar with. Certainly nobody up here in the high desert. I can say that confidently. I do believe some other jurisdictions. I thought Fontana was pursuing a project. San Bernardino has pursued a project. So there's a few communities down the hill.
So and you just said it right now, down the hill. Why don't all them come up here and spend 4 hours on the go home pass, going and coming? Yeah, the silence. Don't worry. We have meetings, Deborah and I have meetings down the hill too, that they refuse to come up here because we're the only city up here that attends. When you filled out the application with them for our wellness center, it went through them, correct? Or no, we did it by ourselves?
The larger $28 million award was by us directly to the state of California.
Oh, it didn't go through them. We didn't have them assist us or anything like that. It was everything staff did.
The only thing that we asked for from ICH was a support letter. We actually applied directly.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, so I do have some questions, and it's partly to do with our speaker this evening, and because I received a telephone call this morning expressing some thoughts and some concerns that have been conveyed to her by a number of our nonprofits. So I want to do my best to represent those. All right, so just to be clear, because you mentioned a number of times that it's about, making the best use of our staff. So it's not that we're short staffed. We've been using the staff that we've had in these leadership roles with ICH. It's not the short staff. it's a matter of prioritizing our staff. Is that fair?
That's exactly correct.
Okay, and then, so on the High Desert Subcommittee, Victorville is one voice among a number of other cities in that region?
Yes, my understanding of the structure is that all jurisdictions are a part of the Desert Regional Steering Committee, and we've had other jurisdictions show up. It's just been Victorville that's taken the leadership role as the co-chair on that.
Okay, and so our Homelessness Solutions Task Force, which I'm so very proud of, it's still active, it's still vital. We still have members representing from businesses, county health, etc.
That is correct, and we're not going to give up on that. That is hugely valuable to us. It's been effectively our guiding support structure, especially as it related to the development and the adoption of the strategic plan. So we absolutely expect to continue to host those meetings, engage our stakeholders, and ultimately, once we're done and successful with this first priority, there are other priorities still to be pursued. So we'll be relying on them to help us dial in the next set of priorities.
That's been in place for 4 years. I think it was a 2019 council that established that. And then from that came the Homelessness Solutions Strategic Action Plan, and then that's also incorporated into the city's strategic plan.
That is correct.
So, okay. So they marry very well together. All right. And then just to confirm, I heard you say, and I think this is very, very important, you're still going to attend meetings, you're still going to comment when necessary, and you will still have the ability to apply for funding as needed.
We will. I will actually have our staff actually involved in that. Not me personally, but I'll have staff.
So we are still going to be serving our community quite well.
Yes, we will.
All right. Very good. All right. So those are all of my questions. Although I actually am going to ask you one more. Just if you have a response, what are your thoughts about us? I think one of the concerns is that they're going to lose a voice on ICH that has been so active, a voting voice. Any thoughts on that?
I think there are other valuable voices in this county and certainly in this region that can step up the way we have. And I hope they do, because quite honestly, the issue is much bigger than Victorville. So I would certainly encourage that while we're stepping away from their legislative body, there are others as well that I think are equally equipped to take on these types of leadership roles. We just have to now, again, buckle down and focus on what we have here in front of us in the city.
Very good. All right. With that said, the chair is going to invite a motion from the council.
I move to approve the staff recommendation.
Adopt. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
make the substitute motion.
Member
My
Gomez.
substitute motion is to continue having the city of Victorville as involved as it has been involved, whether it's to keep both of who they are, both staff members or any other 2 members that the council would like to appoint.
Okay, so we have a substitute motion to continue as the city has been with its involvement on the ICH. Is there a second on the substitute motion? Hearing no second on the substitute motion, we need a second on the main motion to adopt staff recommendation.
Councilmember Becerra seconded the item.
Thank you. All right, we have a first and a second discussion on the pending motion, which is the main motion, beginning with Member Harriman.
Aye.
Okay, discussion. Discussion.
Discussion, no discussion. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No worries, Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Yes, I think it's really important and very valuable to have members at the table, because if you're not at the table, as many have said, you're part of the menu. So hopefully this resignation that is going to obviously pass gets reconsideration and other members can step in. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gomez. Member Irving.
I don't have any comments.
Thank you. And I just do have a quick comment. it's my estimation that Victorville has done a stellar job on the issue, the very complex issue of homelessness, trying to meet the needs of our community and our businesses, to be respectful, and yet get to a place where we can enforce our anti-camping laws, and that's not an easy thing to do, because we want to balance that compassion um, with and dignity, certainly, with also making sure that we're respecting businesses and so forth, and the difficulties that can sometimes follow with homelessness. So I certainly do applaud the city's very assertive approach in taking this issue head on. I'm very proud of our city for that. In my view, we've become an exemplar to many other cities, certainly in the high desert. So with that said, Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask you to take a vote.
Councilmember Gomez,
No.
Councilmember Harriman,
Aye.
Councilmember Irving,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Thank you. So the council has taken action in accordance with the recommendations set forth on the agenda. We're now going to move on to item number 16. This is the attendance at the League of California Cities.
We're on item 15, Madam
We're
Mayor.
on item number 15. This is consideration of proposed City Council Resolution number 23-030, adopting revisions to the City of Victorville City Council Policy and Procedures Manual. And Mr. Metzler, will you tee it up, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Yes, this item deals with four revisions effectively to the City Council Policy Manual, one approved at the March 28th Governance Workshop and three at the last meeting. The four items involve council norms, or addressing the council norms that were adopted, residency matters, and vehicle stipends for the mayor and the mayor pro tem. So with that, this item was authored by the city clerk. Anything further in terms of question or comment, she's certainly available for those. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Metzler. All right, we're going to open this up to any Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, the recommendation, please.
That the Honorable City Council review and consider the proposed revised City Council Policy and Procedure Manual and adopt resolution number 23-030.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to open it up to questions. We're going to begin with Member Harriman.
I have none.
Thank you, Member Irving.
No questions.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
No questions.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Yes. What was the raise that the mayor's position was? It $300? I don't see it in the page.
You need to go to chapter 8.
Okay. And then for the mayor pro temp was $250, but they were 200. Was it 200 for mayor pro temp's position?
It's outlined in the staff report, page 300. It's 300 for the mayor and 200 for mayor pro tem.
Okay, so 300 and 200. And for the mayor pro temp, it was going to be a tax stipend, but for the position of mayor, it was going to be like petty cash. I'm probably saying that wrong. It's not petty cash, but it's just an extra added a monthly that would be occurring immediately. Is that correct?
What is correct is that there is a $300 per month stipend identified for the mayor, $200 per month stipend for the mayor pro tem, and it's the option of both members if they want to actually accept that.
So when you say it's an option, you mean that even though it's in the policy manual, the mayor can decide this month I will not take it, or this month I will? Is that what you mean?
Well, I hope not. That's certainly not the way it was intended.
Oh, okay.
The intent more so was to provide the member with the flexibility to decide if they wanted that stipend to be treated as taxable income, which it would be if they received the stipend. As the alternative to that, the member could alternatively submit a mileage reimbursement expense report.
Okay, and that doesn't have like a sunset date, right? That's just forever until another council comes in and decides to either revoke or change or anything like that. That's what the policy basically is stating.
This would be in place until a council rescinded.
Okay, and then nothing else for the council members, correct? That was just for the two positions of mayor and mayor pro tem?
As it relates to the stipend, yes, that's correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, thank you. And so I have a few, and I'll just say this. So in chapter, first of all, I want to make a clarification. This is not a quote unquote raise. This is a car allowance that is optional for the seats of mayor and mayor pro tem. So optional car allowance in lieu of mileage reimbursement. For the duties specific to the additional duties specific to mayor and mayor pro tem. So in chapter 8, and I think it's on, I want to say page 50 of the policy manual. So, or I think on the attachment. And it says, and it talks about the allowance, but I want to make sure that it's very clear because I don't read it in such a way. But I want to make sure that it's very clear that this is for the extra assignments and duties, as it were, that are specific to the role of mayor and mayor pro tem, and it's not a part of other travel as a council member to conferences for professional development or other duties on outside agencies that a council member is called upon. Mr. DeBornowski, can you help me with that?
That is certainly correct. That's the intent, and we have some flexibility to tighten the language a little bit to clarify that.
Okay, that would be appreciated.
If I might,
yes,
Madam Mayor, we also do have existing council policy that more clearly speaks to that point with respect to mileage or travel for committee-related assignments, I believe is how it's worded, but it actually identifies existing for committee-related assignments greater than 200 miles round trip, I believe is how it's written. So there is a framework already existing. It's the same framework that actually applies to city employees as well.
So, and I understand that. So I just want to make sure that one doesn't conflict with the other. And I'm just going to give an example from the recent SCAG conference that I went to. So I was actually going to submit a reimbursement on that, but not from my home, from somewhere already down the hill because I had been down there. And it would fall into, I mean, the total mileage would be less than 200 miles. Would I not be reimbursed for that?
Based upon the current council policy, and Miss Thompson is probably more familiar with the policy than I am. Based upon the current writing of the policy, that's the threshold being used as 200 miles. Is that correct?
So if this is adopted tonight, then it would be the SCAG meeting was prior to this, so it would fall under what was previously, what's now in the system. So if this gets adopted, then it becomes effective on the adopted date.
So then that leads me to another question, because when the council passed the motion, it was to be effective immediately, not effective upon the language of the policy manual. So maybe that wasn't a fair request. Mr. DeBortnowski or Jennifer?
Yeah, I believe when we adopted it, it was made effective immediately. These revisions are just documenting that now.
So, because I think I had requested that it just be put into the policy manual at the next
Correct.
global review. You're just choosing to do it now.
But with the SCAG meeting, was it prior to that?
It's after.
Oh, sorry. That's my confusion. Please accept that apology.
So in that case,
it would fall under the 200 miles.
Then it would, and then I fall under the 200 miles, even.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, even though it had nothing to do with my role as the mayor, because that's where I think the distinction is that I'm trying to make, is that it's outside the role of the mayor. The 300 is just to allow for the duties of the mayor and mayor pro tem. Does that make sense, Mr. DeBortnowski?
Yes, that makes sense.
Is there a way to do that without conflicting with existing policy?
We can tweak the language a little to clarify that.
Okay.
Yeah, point of clarification. I know you're going to say it's none. I get it. Totally get it.
No,
but
Member Gomez, one moment. You don't get to make a point of clarification because there's no such thing behind this dais, so you can't interrupt. But you can ask to for the chair's recognition,
yes,
and that I'm willing to give to you.
So I don't know what you're saying. I feel like the language that just came out right here from my layman terms was like, we're trying to somehow accommodate your pay, but I don't think that's what you're trying to say. So can you be a little bit more, I think you gave an example, right? It was an example.
It was an example, but so hold on. So once I'm finished asking the questions, you still have additional time and you're free to ask additional questions to get those clarifications. Does that help you?
Sure.
Okay.
So, Mayor Jones, the way the council policy is currently written refers to council policy 12-01 as it relates to travel expenses. The council policy speaks to certain approvals as it relates to travel in specific meetings, but it does specifically talk about certain items not requiring approvals based off of the boards, commissions, and committees that you sit on that each member is appointed to. So in essence, at the SCAG level that you're talking about, you would fall under the council policy manual as it relates to reimbursement. But since you did make that recommendation for it to become effective immediately on the stipend amount, then that, if you're accepting that stipend amount and not the reimbursement amount, then you wouldn't be able to fill out that expense reimbursement. So if you chose to take advantage of the stipend and only accept that, then you wouldn't fill out an expense reimbursement for SCAG. If you choose to take a reimbursement, then you would do that.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't the original intent, but I can understand why this could create some conflict with something that's already in the policy manual. So I'm just going to be good with that and call it a day. And again, I want to just make it very clear that this has nothing to do with me personally or Mayor Pro Tem Becerra personally. This has to do with the offices of Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and whoever holds those seats going forward. I've never, with the exception of one time recently in the 5 years, in my 5th year on the council, submitted any expense reimbursement for anything I've ever done, mileage, fuel, anything. So this is not me looking for something extra. This is just trying to be reasonable with the rising costs that everyone is having to deal with recently. So, all right, all that said, Member Gomez, did you have some additional questions? You have time left?
Yeah, so just for clarification, you sit as a primary for SCAG then, right?
I was a voting delegate.
So that, so in other words, yes. So you're part
No.
of the, okay, so.
I'm just the voting delegate.
Okay,
But
so.
I was required by the council to go.
Yeah, so the clarity that I was seeking is if you're already part of that committee as SCAG, then I don't think the questions were relevant. But because you're not a member that's seated, but you were allowed to go, that makes you in some other category, which is what I didn't want to see. That it almost felt like we were trying to help you get paid. But anyways, I don't have any further questions. Thank you for the clarification.
No, actually it works against
Madam Mayor,
my
I
original
do
intent.
need a clarification.
Sure.
So let me just understand, if you accept a car allowance,
Right.
you're not allowed, you're prohibited from submitting a mileage reimbursement for anything that you, is that correct?
No.
Okay, so.
And that's where the rub is. So it has to be in excess of 200 miles. That's something that's already in the policy manual.
So you could potentially get a car allowance and submit a mileage reimbursement.
If it's over 200 miles.
Okay.
Per event. But not, again, so the intent, at least in my view, and is that this is related, that the mileage allowance or the car allowance is related specifically to the tasks required of the mayor and mayor pro tem. Those other things are not requirements of those two seats. They're duties as a council member in general, or being appointed to serve on outside agencies, etc. So in those cases, something we already have in the policy manual, I would only have access, or any future mayor or mayor pro tem, to any mileage if they opt for a car allowance to get a mileage reimbursement above 200 miles.
That, but it just has the appearance, this is me speaking personally, of double dipping to me.
No, I think this actually says you cannot. I think
No,
it's
I
very
know,
strict, yeah.
but if you're getting a car allowance, aren't you I mean, it's to use your car, right?
For the duties of the mayor only, the additional duties.
Okay.
So as I'm still a council member that has other duties.
Why wouldn't you just submit a reimbursement for mileage period like everyone else in that case?
Because I have so much Leslie, I've been trying to do this for more than a year, and it keeps being put further and further down on my to-do list as not the priority, because I want to do the work of the city, and it's really eating into my personal budget. I mean, above and beyond. And I've done it for years.
That's a lot to share, but I appreciate
Well, I mean, it was a difficult question to ask, so I'm sure. So I gave
that way.
it was. So all right. So Mr. T. Bortnowski, did we clear it up sufficiently? I mean, I certainly don't want anybody to get the appearance of anything. I mean, none of this was meant. I mean, I think this is
I think,
something the council approved, and
right. I think we have a complete and a clear understanding of what is intended. And to the extent I look at the language again, make sure it reflects that understanding.
yep. All right. All right. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and close the discussion period. Unless Member Gomez, you had other questions. You still have time. Okay. Anybody else with other questions? Go ahead.
It's not a question, but maybe I can help. This is for your duties, going to ribbon cuttings, doing all kinds of other different stuff.
Correct.
Mileage for 200 miles or more gets paid by the mileage. So when you say your duties, you're not just talking about you're doing a lot of things.
Right. And the
Okay,
200
that's
miles.
all you have to say.
Yeah,
That's all you have to say. Like this, not every.
it's actually more restrictive than I intended. So, but I'm actually quite good with it. So, all right. With that said, I'm going to close the discussion period, and Madam Clerk, vote, please. Oh, no.
We need a motion.
No,
and a
we do
second.
need a motion. That went on a long time. I'm so sorry, everyone. All right. Chair invites a motion from the council.
Is it a staff recommendation?
There is a staff recommendation.
Okay, I move to approve staff recommendation.
And I pose a substitute motion to rescind the mayor and mayor pro temp's stipends for those positions alone.
Thank you. We have a substitute motion. Is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion dies. And we're now back at the
Madam
main
Mayor, I have a
motion.
substitute motion.
Yes.
I move that we table this until we have clarified the language.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Discussion on the substitute motion.
I don't know if I may jump in, or you want to have someone else.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just maybe a little bit more clarification so we can come up with the language and let Mr. DeBernowski tighten anything up if that's what needs to be done.
All right. Any other discussion, questions?
I only want to say I'm in support of this, but I prefer the language to be clarified, as you pointed out yourself. Before I support this, I would like him to clean it up a little. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And any other questions or comments in the pending motion? Mr. DeBortnowski, the only cleanup that you would have done would have been that which was non-substantive, correct? That's the only authority that you would have.
That's correct.
Correct. Okay. All right. Thank you. So we have a first and a second to table this until such time we have new language. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Councilmember Gomez.
For the motion that Ms. Irving did, right, is yes.
Councilmember Harriman.
No.
Councilmember Irving.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra.
No.
Mayor Jones.
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you. So now we can go back to, since that failed, we can go back to the main motion, which is to adopt staff's recommendation. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second discussion on the pending motion. From anyone? Hearing none, Chair closes the discussion period. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Councilmember Gomez.
No.
Councilmember Harriman.
Yes.
Councilmember Irving.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra.
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes with Councilmember Gomez and Irving voting no.
All right, thank you. So the council has adopted staff's recommendation as to item number 15 with the understanding that Mr. D. Bortnowski is going to uh,
Clean up the language.
clean up the language and it's going to be non-substantive changes.
Correct.
All right. Thank you. All right. With that said, we're going to move now on to item number 16. This is attendance at the League of California Cities Desert Mountain Division meeting to be held June 2nd, 2023 in Mammoth Lakes for Councilmember Bob Harriman. This was Member Harriman's request. So Mr. Messer, I'm going to ask you to tee it up and then Mr. Harriman, if you would like to tee it up further, I'll invite you to do that. Mr. Metzler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The League of California Cities is an advocacy group for statewide legislative activities. We're a member of that organization, but as California is such a big state, the League of California Cities actually creates regions in which communities can get together and speak more so at a regional level. And so we do that regularly through the Mountain Desert division of the League of California Cities. We regularly meet. Many times the meetings are conducted here in the Valley, but our region actually extends as far north as Mammoth Lakes, and Mammoth Lakes hosts annually their next meeting. Our next meeting is coming up June 2nd, and so I do know that it's typical for the primary member and the alternate member assigned to the league to attend. But the meetings are open to the public, and certainly other council members can and have attended as well. Because our policy manual prescribes pre-approval by this council for travel that isn't related to any of the respective committee assignments, that is effectively why this item is being brought back for your consideration. So with that, the author on this item is your city clerk, Ms. Jennifer Thompson. She can answer any additional questions you might have.
All right, thank you very much. All right, with that said, Madam Clerk, the recommendation.
That your honorable city council authorize attendance at the League of California Cities Desert Mountain Division meeting to be held June 2nd, 2023 in Mountain Lakes for Councilmember Bob Harriman.
Okay, before we move on to questions, Member Harriman, did you want to further introduce the item?
No, I'm good. Do I get to eat? I mean, is it going to pay for my food? I have.
All right, it's normal travel according to the the laws. Okay. All right. We're going to then open it up to questions, Member Gomez.
Yes, for this item, it's only, so that means we already have the alternate and the primary attending, right? Is that why we have this item? Because was that what you were?
Member Gomez, we have this item because Mr. Member Harriman requested it and this to be put on the agenda for consideration.
Yeah, but Mr. Metzler said something about the primary and the alternate, that they are already available to attend. I suppose that's why we don't have the primary, the alternate in this item. Is that correct?
Right. Those two seats have been granted permission.
Okay, so then
it's just by nature and serving on the.
Okay, so then the other missing members, they're not in attendance because they're not on the agenda, right?
They're no, the other. So this is one, Mr. Metzler, I'm gonna let you do this.
So in this particular case, well, actually, council members are not effectively approved to attend unless, of course, they're already assigned to a respective committee. You've got provisions in your policy manual that provide flexibility for those committees that you're assigned to. You don't have to come back and get a pre-approval, an approval for the travel-related expenses. But in this particular case, because Mr. Harriman is not a primary or alternate to the League of California Cities, the governing provisions here would be that any request for his travel to a city, to actual city business event has to get pre-approved by the council first. And so that's effectively what this item is doing.
Okay, and for this item, will he be doing the 200 miles or above? Do we know that?
I'm sorry. Well, he would be eligible as a part of the expense reimbursement if Councilmember Harriman in fact drives. It'd be considered a part of customary business. So it's probably about a 250, don't quote me, mile each way. So 500 miles round trip. So to the extent Mr. Harriman drives, I do plan on attending myself, and to the extent I do attend, Mr. Harriman, along with any other members, certainly welcome to drive up with me to avoid any additional expenses. But to the extent Councilmember Harriman drives up himself and incurs a travel expense for mileage, certainly that would be an eligible expense reimbursement.
Okay, but that's not embedded here, but that's an option for him, you're saying, right? I just thought it was embedded once you add him. It also, if it's already automatic 200 round trip, he doesn't have to ask for it. It's already embedded within the language here. But you're saying that's not the case. It would be an extra step for him if he had the time or the energy or the desire to get a reimbursement. Because it seems like it's a lot, right? I just want to make sure that this is not embedded already. I'm trying to make it easier for the member if it's not. And that's my understanding that it is included because it's part of the policy, but there's an extra step that he may have to do, which I'm seeking clarification.
I'm not quite understanding.
Okay, I think I do. I actually think I do. May I, Mr. Metzler? So, no, and I understand because of the discussion that we just had on the last item. So the 200-mile kind of concept is related only to those individuals that receive a car allowance. Member Harriman does not. So to the extent that he travels himself and pays for any of it, he can seek reimbursement and he has to file those requests.
So in other words, he would qualify for the 200 if he applied. He doesn't have to be any of those positions. If
No, there's no 200 anything on this.
Okay.
He could request a mileage reimbursement for 10 miles because he doesn't get a car allowance. It's whatever his expenses are. He can see his travel expenses that are related to the business to the extent that they're reasonable are reimbursable.
Madam,
Is that fair?
Madam Mayor, I think I understand her question a little bit better now. I think the question was there may be an extra step, and having rehashed the question, I believe that is correct. There may be an extra step for Councilmember Harriman to fill out an expense reimbursement form if he chooses to drive himself.
Okay, over 200. But the mayor did bring up a point. If he decided to do 10, if he wanted the 10 miles, would that be within the purview?
Okay.
That just brought a little bit more confusion because I was just thinking, does he have that ability or should it go through the council? Or is that just something aside from it?
Mr. DeBornowski.
I think the policy is clear that if Mr. Harriman is able to attend this meeting, he can submit a reimbursement regardless of whatever the mileage is. Under the current policy, he does not get a car allowance.
Okay. All right, then that helps me understand. So it doesn't matter how far he's going to drive as long as it's related to his position, he can submit, but that doesn't mean the submission would be approval, right? It has to go up in front of us, I suppose. Or I'm sorry, was it with Keith Mesler alone discrepancy?
It requires this council to approve it first.
So right now it's the approval, and if he decides to do that next step, it would be discrepancy.
Your time is up.
Discretion.
Discretionary at my level when it
Thank
comes
you.
back. You approve it, presuming you approve it.
Okay. Member Harriman, did you want? So, Member Harriman, I think I already asked you, so I'm going to come back to you after I have asked other people to come have questions. Member Irving.
I don't have any questions.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, let's have fun with this some more. Mr. Metzler, these meetings of the Desert City and Mountain Divisions, these are the meetings that were approved at the beginning of the year, correct? For us to attend.
No. I think
Primary and secondary, yes.
well, they're approved incidental to your roles, but if you're speaking to a separate action by the council to pre-approve travel, we've pre-approved travel for League of California cities conferences such as the annual conference or the legislative action days. It's called something else now, but not exactly this.
So with me not going as the primary, we're actually saving money because then I'm not going, so Bob's going. So we're not spending any more money.
So with that being said, it would have a net effect of zero.
Zero.
With all things being equal. Yeah.
I was waiting for my turn because
Potentially.
not going. So he's going in my place.
All right. And so, Member Harriman, I understand you have additional questions.
I don't have a question. I just want to
You
make
can.
a remark.
Sure. Go ahead. This is your item.
I'm just going, everybody. I'm going to ride with Keith. I will not be submitting any mileage. And like the mayor said, I don't ever submit mileage. And, but at the same time, if I go to anything, if I want to, I could submit mileage. So, you know, I know it's gotten real confusing here, but, yeah, I'm going, no mileage. I'm just going to have a nice, joyous ride with the city manager.
After today, that's cute.
All right. Thank you, Member Harriman.
My boss.
And
I meant my boss.
I think it works the other way. He has a 5-headed boss. One boss with 5 heads. All right. Yeah. We can't call the vote because there's no motion on the table. So now the chair does invite a motion from Mr. Harriman since this is his item.
Motion to approve.
No, I'm inviting Member Harriman since this is his item.
Move to approve.
Adopt.
Move to adopt the expenses
For the staff recommendation.
for the staff recommendation.
Stop there.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second discussion on the pending motion. Member Harriman.
No discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Thank you, Member Gomez.
Yes. So since we're talking about the motion about who's going to go where, I mean, it's just money. That's all it is. There's no this tit versus that tat. It's money being expended. And I think the community should be granted the privilege and the honor of knowing what we're deciding or what we're deciding not to do. So that's why it's important to make sure we comment. It's not a game. It's somebody's dollar. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gomez. I appreciate that. All right, Member Irving.
I only want to say that I hope that my fellow council member, Mr. Harriman, enjoys himself and learns a lot. So
Thank
have
you.
fun and pay attention. Do your best.
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, and this is a division meeting, so it's
Whatever it is, I hope he enjoys himself.
Thank
and
you.
learns a lot.
Thank you. And the chair has no comments on the pending motion. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Councilmember Gomez.
Yes.
Councilmember Harriman.
Yes.
Councilmember Irving.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra.
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So the council has taken action in accordance with the recommendations set forth on the agenda. We're going to move on to item number 17. This is city manager reports.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council.
One moment. Thank you. Okay. All right, go ahead now. Sorry, we had a side conversation going.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. A couple of activities coming up. First, I think this is a new one. It's called The Right Stuff. It's a curbside recycling contest. So for those of you that are confident that you're recycling properly, that means putting the right things in the blue waste container and doing the right things with those things that go actually do the right things to those things that go in the blue container before they go in the blue container, such as rinsing out your mayonnaise bottle before you throw it in there. That's actually what we're going to be looking for. So we got a contest, and if you're confident in your abilities, you have a good chance of winning a $100 gift card. So that's a program that starts soon. It's sponsored by Burtech, and we'll be rolling it out and giving awards weekly through the end of June. So that's coming up. Of course, this weekend's a big weekend for us. We're going to celebrate the Green Tree Extension ribbon cutting ceremony. That's going to be this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Ceremony starts at 9. We'll also have a car show occurring during that period of time. And we'll actually be doing car show awards at about 12:30. So it's an event that's available and open to the public. We're planning for a large crowd. We're going to have classic car show, the DJ, we're going to have food trucks. We're going to have a fun walk to the bridge. And we'll actually have busing to try to make the transport from the parking lot to the bridge much more easy and accessible. So half a day full of fun. Looking forward to you all being there. It's a big event for the city as we've been working on this project for quite some time. Finally, on the building side of the house, Dollar General at the southeast of Village Drive, north of Mojave Drive, that's past final inspection, and the project is now complete. So that's a nice new development in that area of Village Drive. I'll separately forward our actual development report. I'll send that via email. Certainly available for any questions or comments on that. That's all I have at this time, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Metzler. All right, moving on to item number 18. This is our item for discussion and possible action regarding upcoming agenda items. Member Gomez.
Yes, for number 18, just to follow the subject matter with 16, it says attendance at the League of California Cities Desert / Mountain Division meeting to be held June 2nd, 2023 in Mammoth Lakes for all other council members that weren't already voted on.
I see. So an agenda item to add those. I got you. So specifically, that would be for which meeting?
For June 2nd. You mean?
Okay. Well, this conference
yeah,
is
yeah.
June 2nd. So,
Well, let's go ahead and do it for the next year since that would be a possibility.
so I think the next meeting is past that. Date.
I mean, I think it's an annual meeting for June 2nd, 2023. So it would occur for Mammoth Lakes again next year. So unless we just want to redact Mammoth Lakes if it doesn't happen at Mammoth Lakes, but it's my understanding that's annually happening at Mammoth Lakes, or is it not?
Okay, so I'm wondering if, Member Gomez, I think I understand what you're requesting. These are outside agency or committee meetings that are appointed by the council. So there's a requirement for the 2 council members to attend, and barring any other difficulties to the extent that other members want to do it. There can be a request, and maybe we can take that up when we have Jennifer, when we have those come before us once a year to consider all of the conferences, etc. Instead of instead of dealing now for something that might take place, because we don't know we technically don't know who's going to be the designees for next year. It should be the same, but one never knows.
So are you asking for it to be added to the training and travel?
Is that in your view, would that be the best way to handle this? Would you like to see that? Because you normally prepare annually the things for approval.
I mean, that would be at your discretion to ask for that if you so
Member
choose. Then I
Gomez,
could
would that be?
Yes, that would
All
be
right. All right. So, so you want that as an agenda item to discuss, including that as part of what's presented to the council?
Yes.
Okay. So for the next meeting and an action item. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's
okay. Is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion dies. Do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Member Harriman.
I have nothing.
Thank you, Member Irving.
Nothing.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Nothing.
Okay, and I okay, so I'm looking I'm going to request an action item for our next regular city council meeting to review the membership of our CREA board and determine whether any changes might be needed in the board's makeup to ensure we have full participation and community representation. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Madam Clerk, the vote, please.
Councilmember Gomez?
Yes.
Councilmember Harriman?
No.
Councilmember Irving?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Becerra?
I wanted to ask a question.
Oh.
The CREA building, I'm sorry.
Right.
Who's a part of it now? May I ask?
Yeah, it's Member Irving, you and me, and 2 other community members. Yeah,
So
there are
you're-
2. Okay.
So you're asking to discuss the reallocation. That's what you're asking.
Right. If we need to make any changes, this is when we'll have a discussion about the makeup of the board.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
And Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes with Councilmember Harriman and Irving voting no.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm going to rescind We're within the scope, so I want to exercise my right to rescind my yes to a no, or my second to a no.
Okay, so hold on. So technically, we were in the process of a vote. I haven't voted yet. Member Gomez does have the right to change her vote because I have not yet moved on to the next item. So that being said, it looks like
I'll second.
this fails.
No, I'll second.
No, hold on. No, the vote, she's changing her vote to a no. So now we're 3-2 opposed.
Her second, she said.
No, but before that, she said she was withdrawing her vote. Are you changing your vote, Member?
Yes.
Changed your vote to a no. So now that is going to fail. And this item is not, cannot be reconsidered. So we have what we have on the PREA board. And we, okay, that's it. All right, moving on now to item number 19, and that's reports from council members. Member Gomez.
Nope, not today. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Harriman.
I would just like to thank Mrs. Jones or Ms. Jones for all her work, hard work for the event Saturday. I'm really looking forward to that. Whoever come up with the idea of a car show was very, very wise, and it should go off really well. And I would like to thank her and the staff for all their work to put that together.
Thank you. All right, Member Irving.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
And that's it at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So mine very quickly, I attended the SBCTA General Policy Committee meeting, and I attended with my colleague, Mayor Pro Tem, the SCAG meeting in Palm Desert. As a voting delegate, I just merely voted on the makeup of the executive board and making a wonderful woman an honorary president. It was a very helpful and conference, and I learned a lot. And I was required to go as a voting delegate. And then also, I went to the Senior Citizens Club Garden Grand Reopening. Mr. Harriman was also in attendance, and so I wanted to thank Rooney Turner and Rosa Lee for the beautiful cake that they brought to the council this evening in appreciation for our attendance at their grand reopening. And with all that said, I want to thank everyone for a productive meeting. That concludes our business for this evening. And as a matter of housekeeping, all council members, staff, and audience members will kindly vacate council chambers and City Hall within 10 minutes. That's 8:46, so that these facilities may be cleaned and secured for the evening. Members of the public are not permitted behind the dais. This meeting is adjourned.
Now can we put our stuff?